Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you my recently finished sketchbook, and this is the handmade sketchbook which I made a year ago. Here it has Sanders Bockingford Acid 3 watercolor paper. This paper is thick, it's 300 grams, so if you are looking for some non-cotton paper, the good one, I would really recommend this. I have two colors of the paper. It's not white. One part is warm gray and the second part is light blue. So it holds watercolor very well, and it also works with all different materials. So the first sketch I made on September 4th, and I sketched it from life. I had a bottle with flowers and I was impressed by the shadow, so I used acrylic and gouache to sketch that, and some colored pencil. Next sketch is also from life. I used direct watercolor and then I put some watercolor pencil while the paint was still wet. This sketch is made from water. I took a photo of a persimmon tree in the neighborhood and I really like that sketch. I wanted to try how ink work on this paper, and I drew my watercolor box here. As I remember, it was the glass dipping pen and it worked really well. I also like that this is not waterproof ink, so I can bleed it with water to make some nice shadows. So this is the box of one of my current watercolor sets which I made, and I list colors right here. Here's another sketch which I made from water, and it's the pomegranate tree in the neighborhood. I really like how it's open and showing their seeds. I have morning routine. If I know that I won't have time to draw during the day, I just use 10-15 minutes to practice in the morning. Took anything I see. It can be some stuff on my desk, or it can be a view from my window. You will see later some examples. And I use loose watercolor to draw the shapes, outline it with the crayon pencil here. So here are just my cup of coffee and cup of tea, some fruits which I have from the sketches which I drew before, and some tools. This is the example of the sketch which I made on location. I sometimes walk in the morning to downtown, and the day, it was one of the first cold days. I didn't want to draw, so I took just a sketchbook just in case, because I always have a sketchbook with me, and I had some graphite pencil and a pen, so I didn't even take watercolor. I took some random pencils, and this is the ink in the water brush. So I didn't want to draw at all, but I saw the man who was putting these Christmas lights on the trees, and I was impressed by the shadows in the morning, so I took my materials and started sketching, and it turned out very nice, I think. And this is the example of how I sometimes work. I put at home some spots with acrylic paint, and when I come on location, I choose the subject which will fit well in this spread. And here I think I wanted to draw some trees, but while I was waiting to find the correct scenery, the trees become yellow and red, and I decided not to finish this page, so I will figure out it later, maybe, or maybe not. So this is an example of the sketch with line only. I made it with ink and glass dipping pen. I bought some fall decoration and put it in the corner of my room, and I was really impressed with the different details, so I took a pen and sketched that. But since this line is not waterproof, I decided not to add color to this sketch because I don't want to ruin it. Instead of that, I draw the same thing with watercolor a few days after. I will show it later. So I really like the composition. I wanted to try it again with the watercolor. And these are the same subjects, but I made this sketch before the previous one. So I just brought this from the store and decided to try to sketch it. Here is another example of my morning doodles. I made it looking through the window, and those fall trees really catch my eyes because of the colors. I used to use watercolor, and after I finished with watercolor, while it was still wet, I added some details with pencil. Here are some of my first sketches in this sketchbook, this one. And this sketch is made on acrylic background. So that's one of the examples how I work with acrylic background. I put some paint, and then I find what can suit here. I just draw the sketch on top of it and color with watercolor and pencils, crayons and markers, so whatever works on acrylic. This is very quick sketch I made of the corn. I have a brush with a different length of bristles, and it helps me to draw corn leaves very quickly. So it took me no more than 20 minutes to do that. And while it was wet, I showed some seeds with pencil, and white spots is the white gel pen. And one day I went to the ocean, and there is a park with a tunnel of cypress trees, and in the morning the light comes from the end of the tunnel, and I wanted to paint it. And when I took some photos and videos, because video holds better the surrounding and the impression of the scenery. So I took a video and painted at home. That was my first attempt. It is more detailed, and I like how I managed to do the back of the tunnel. And then I tried the second one. I wanted to do it more simple, to try bold materials and do it more loose. I like both. And here is the sketch of the same composition which I showed before, so this one. I made a very simple sketch with a pencil and then use watercolor. I actually recorded the video. You can watch how I work with watercolor. This is an example of my morning doodles. We live in apartment building, and we have a pool area. So sometimes I sit there and drink my coffee, and I was really impressed with the matching colors of my jeans jacket and pool umbrellas and the shadow of this building. So I took a picture and went home to sketch it while I still impressed and remember the mood. And this is the example of how I work with acrylic background. As you can see, these spots of acrylic I made before. So I made it the same day as I did the previous green one. And then I came on vacation. I saw this white tent. I thought that it would fit nicely in between of these gray spots. That umbrella was red, so it was nice to match the colors of the umbrella and the trees. And I really like how this gray background worked as a shadow. I like it. A sketch from the cafe. It was very cold that day. There were lots of people and they were changing very fast, so I had to work quickly to get the impression of the people who were there, some of them. I have a few sketching buddies, and when we meet, one of us bring still life to draw, and one of our friends brought peony flowers and perfume bottles, and it was very unexpected. I'm not a fan of drawing flowers, but I like to get the impression of the flower at least, so I can recognize that it's peony. The main thing about this sketch is that it holds the atmosphere of that day. And there is another one, very loose. I really like how these peonies turned out. I can draw flowers, but it's not my favorite subject. I'm not a botanical artist. And you can see that so flowers themselves are not my very favorite part. When I found this rose in the neighborhood, it had a very big flower, and I waited till these leaves fall down, and after that I was really enjoying sketching that. I have two sketches of the same wilted rose. One more example of my morning routine. I walked in the neighborhood and saw those crows who were very loud and they were fighting. I recorded the audio of the sound of those crows, and at home I sketched them. And the last page, it's the same flower, the same day, few hours later. I like how this watercolor flows inside the vase. And that's it. Here's the last page, which I usually use for testing different materials, and as you can see, all different materials work well here. This is watercolor crayons, just random color pencils. These are watercolor markers, and this is watercolor markers as well, which I spray with a water bottle, and it makes this nice effect. Some watercolor mixes, and acrylic and gouache, and of course some pens. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy my video, and please come back for another sketchbook tour. Thank you so much, and see you in the next videos. Bye.